I'm Lucy, I'm a registered nurse and fertility therapist for the last 15 years, and I'm bringing all of my experience, expertise and intuition to this to give you the information that I have found to be the most useful for the women that I'm working with. So you've got your IVF coming up, and maybe you've had IVF before and it didn't work, maybe it's your first time and you're just compelled by this sense of I've got to do all the right things, and it's so overwhelming. Looking online, talking to people, everyone's got their ideas of all the things that work and you must shoehorn all of these things in, and you end up in this state of frantic panic of just, am I doing the right things? Are they going to work? Is it going to be enough? And also, am I going to do all these things and be horribly disappointed? Now, what doesn't work is shoehorning ourselves in a regime that makes us feel apart from ourselves. And when you feel frantic or angry or resentful or scared, you're not in line with your body's highest good. You're not at that place whereby your body is doing as well as it could. Now, that doesn't mean you're doing it wrong, you need to sort that out, you've only got a few days, you've got to get on top of it. What if for a moment you could think, actually, I don't need to push myself to be a specific way. Just for a minute, take a breath and remember, IVF is so important to you because the outcome matters so much that you are putting yourself out on a limb. You are soaking up as much courage as you can. You are going to be fluctuating between doubt, panic, terror, fear. It's absolutely paralysing sometimes as we put ourselves out there doing these things. So don't put more pressure on yourself thinking, it also needs to look a certain way, I need to think a certain way, I need to feel a certain way, otherwise I'm just going to attract the worst possible experience to myself. Just park that pressure for a minute. Okay, I'm going to talk you through how to get through this and how to get past it, okay? Now, we have these two parts to us. So we've got our ego side, our human brain side that knows about facts and science and analysis, and it's very black and white and it's really useful. We've also got this other part of us that's our intuition. Now, this is a part that tunes into our body's intelligence. This is talking to our body all the time, knowing what we need, knowing what we don't. It's really respectful of the fact that the body is such a complex piece of kit. It's so sophisticated, and it's being stimulated and affected all the time by our environment, by our thoughts, by our feelings. And that's not a cue for you to start beating yourself up that you're not thinking and feeling the right things. You are human, and this is a big deal, and you're going to feel loads of stuff. So what doesn't work is when we do what we're taught to do, which is use purely our logic. So we look at facts, we look at action, we look at regimes, and we try to schedule something for ourselves because we feel comforted by that. Society says that this is a really great thing to do, and routines can be really reassuring. So finding a nice routine can be very helpful. But if it's putting you in a tailspin, then it's not going to be helping you, and it isn't something that you must do for your IVF to work. I have watched thousands of women go through IVF, and so many of them have it work without reaching this mecca, peace, amazing, calm state of being where you're receptive and open and feeling really positive and all the things. I think a lot of the time we can say that we're feeling things that we're not actually feeling, and it's what we're feeling that actually matters, not what we're saying. So how about we come away from this logical black and white part of us? Yes, it's useful for doing research, for understanding situations, for getting as much information as we can, but what we miss is the vital thing where we pass it through the filter of our intuition, which will tell us what we think of it by how we feel. So if you're looking at all these things, it's never about the thing, okay? It's never the thing, it's the way the thing makes you feel. It's never the thing, it's the way the thing makes you feel. If you look at research, hundreds of thousands of pieces of research that show what we think and feel about something has much more impact on its effect than the thing itself. And that is proven through the placebo effect over and over and over again. And we can't just push that out. We can't just park that and say, I'm just going to go on the evidence of this supplement does this thing, I'm going to take it and have this outcome. We have to honour the fact that our bodies are receptive to what we invest in, what we believe in, what makes sense for us. And sometimes our bodies are saying, I don't want you to do any of those things. I don't want you to do all of the things. I would just like to feel as though I'm coming home to myself a little bit. I just want to feel as though I'm coming into this alignment a little bit more. So start with yourself. Let the feelings be there. If you're panicked and unsure, if you're doubtful, allow this intuition part of you. Allow it to be your higher self, the part of you that's wise and kind and loving, and it understands your highest outcomes of all the things that you want to get. It understands how your body's working. It knows how to steer and guide you. And if this part was talking to your friend, it would give really good advice. So this part of you will say yes or no to things in the moment, and it will change according to the pattern of the weather, what's going on in your body. You can't force yourself into getting to a successful outcome. You have to kind of lean into it, and that's going to look different for each cycle. It's going to look different for each woman. There isn't a way that it must look for it to work. Okay, so you may have a feeling place over here that is despair and despondency and anger, and you're in your grief, and I'll come to that in a moment. And you've got to get to a place where you're just feeling better. It doesn't have to be specific. You just want to feel better, and sometimes you'll be on the bridge just trying to get to a place that feels a little bit better, and that just looks really simple and straightforward, like I'm not going to beat myself up for feeling the way that I do. It's a big deal to me. It's important to me. I've been disappointed before. My hopes are dashed and I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'm terrified. And it's okay. I am human and I'm going to feel those things. That's part of being on the bridge. And many women get pregnant whilst they're on the bridge. You don't have to be over the other side in order for it to work. Sometimes you can only do what you can do, and that just looks like turning up. Show up to the appointment, do the medication, follow the path of least resistance, and monitor that by how you are feeling and reacting to things. I said I was going to come into grief. So when you're going through infertility, whether you've had IVF or not, whatever goes on, you're in a perpetual state of a chronic grief. You're missing someone who's not even here yet. You're yearning for something that you miss every day in your life, and that's grief. You're mixing that with the uncertainty of never knowing quite when and how it's going to pan out. That's going to have an impact. And the grief cycle is something that's academically studied. There are 5 stages, and they are proven. They are things that our brain will do. No particular order, not everyone will go through every stage. You can go back and forth, you can fluctuate, but essentially there are 5 stages of grief. There is the shock and denial. There is despair and despondency, really going into that depression. There is a bargaining state whereby you go back and you think, what if I'd done this? What if I'd done that? I wonder if this. And we do that with IVF all the time. If I'd only maybe just added this, if I'd only maybe had that drug a little bit more, if only, that's bargaining. That's part of your grief. That's part of your brain automatically processing for you. Your brain is on your side, trying to help you get to the place where you need to be. You also have an anger stage in grief. And that includes being frustrated, irritated, resentful. Just, I don't want to do any of it. I'm fed up with it all. And you chuck your fertility books out the window, you shove your supplements to the back of the cupboard, you go and, get a bottle of wine, eat at McDonald's, do whatever you're going to do. That's okay. Don't hate yourself for that. Your body can manage a little bit of rebellion as you're going through that grief cycle. And you might be sat there thinking, yeah, but I've been this angry for months, and I've got to nudge myself towards this IVF and things aren't changing for me, so I've booked it and now I have to get my head straight. Tiny little steps, and start with you. It doesn't have to be fertility focused for it to have a massive impact on your fertility. can you run it past the filter? What do I want to do? Well, I know what I don't want to do. I don't want to take this, and I don't want to do this, and I don't want to have all these different fertility related things that I have to do. So bring it back to you. What do you need? Maybe you need to be okay and forgive yourself for feeling like you do. That might be one first step. Maybe you might say, well, for me, I want to sit in bed with a cup of tea, or I want to go for a walk along the seaside. I want to give myself a week off and just let myself do whatever I need to do, just to process and just to find my way home to myself. That is more healing and will bring you more into alignment with your body and your receptivity than pushing against the grain to pile in all these things that aren't feeling good. Now, I'm not saying don't do things. I'm saying do things with discernment. Run them past your feeling filter. What does your intuition say about it? It might be, you know what, I quite like the idea of that fertility massage technique, or do you know, I'm going to start eating a bit more protein because I think that would be good for me anyway, and I like the idea of that, and I've read that it's quite good to eat more protein in the lead up to IVF. If you have a thought about something and it leads to another thought and another thought and another thought, and with each thought you find yourself leaning more into that idea, and it feels expansive and it starts to fill your body with a bit of ease, a bit of soothing, that's what you need to do. Go with that. If, on the other hand, you're looking at something and you just get this repulsion, just get that, if you feel that heart sink about it, that's your body saying, I don't want this, I don't need this, this isn't the thing that's going to take me where I need to go. Just know that your body coming into the best receptivity and alignment and homeostasis and balance and well-being doesn't have to be specific to this has been a proven fertility thing. Anything you put in the pot that adds to your well-being, your body will know where you need it to go. So it actually might look nothing like anything to do with fertility, but it would have added into that fertility bank hugely. Don't beat yourself up. The first step is to give yourself permission to be where you are, and to know that you can piece your way back to yourself in any particular way. It doesn't have to look a specific way. If there are things that you want to add in because they appeal to you and you run them past that filter and your body says, yes, I want to do that, I like the idea of that, I like the concept of that, I think that would be good for me, I'm already feeling better at the idea of doing it, you'll feel the peace in your body about it, and you know that that's something that you're going to do. If you start to feel that constriction about it because you think, well, I did do that before, especially on that time that it did actually work, and perhaps I ought to be doing that, and yeah, I did read about it, and it would mean I wasn't really working hard enough if I didn't, and you see how that shrinks you down? That's when you know, okay, that's a no. I'm not doing that, or I'm not doing it yet. It's not like you can't add these things in later. So my parting message to you is, just remember that we tell ourselves these really ridiculous stories, okay? Society tells us, and we grow up hearing, if we want a successful outcome and we want it hard enough, we have to work really hard for it. And if you work really hard, that work will be praised, it will be rewarded, people will applaud you. And hard work looks like lots and lots of action. Hard work looks like there's been some suffering, some struggling, some pain. You know, people tell the stories of, oh, she went through so much to have that, or she so deserves it because she really worked hard for it, and oh my goodness, the amount that she went through. And it's as though it elevates the story because it's warranted and it's justified. And so we tell ourselves, this has to look more hard. This is supposed to be me pushing myself to the limit. I'm not going to get my outcome if I don't put in enough actions. Action is what makes the wheel go round. It isn't. Inspired action, yes, but forced action that comes from that side of the brain, that ego side of the brain that's just trying to get control, it doesn't create those outcomes. If you get really into the action, you end up so frantic and manic with it, you dissociate from the rest of your body, and it's like your energy is split. You're so in your head, You don't even know how your body's responding to anything, and you don't even know yourself anymore. Getting yourself ready for IVF is about looking after yourself, bringing yourself home to you. So start with you if you need to, and don't feel like there's a million actions that if you don't take them, this IVF's not going to work. It's just not true. Sometimes all you can do is head down, keep going, one step in front of the other. I will turn up to the appointments, I will do the medications, I will breathe, I will try and drink enough water. I will try to make sure that I eat. Sometimes that's where we're at, and that's how we piece ourselves back together. Just let yourself go at that pace and it will build momentum, it will gather, and then you might find yourself feeling really inspired to do more things that bring even more great feelings. But always run them past. How am I feeling about this? What is my response to this? And then you'll know. And that really is the key to it. So if you're getting ready to start IVF, or you're going to get ready for another round, I'm sending you all the love and luck in the world, and please be kind to yourself. There's another aspect to this that I'm going to talk about in another video, which is all about how we can feel incredibly wobbly and lost and weird and numb and all the things as the soul of the child that is coming in gets closer and closer and closer and starts to integrate within our energy field, and how that can make us feel. And it's not pretty sometimes. It doesn't feel good. If that's a video that would resonate for you, that will be coming up, and I will put a link to it in the description. So sending lots of love. This is Lucy from Catching Rainbows.